Hi.
Hey everyone, we're going to get started, so just mute yourselves really quick. Welcome to the final session. I can't believe we're already done. My name is Rourke. I'm one of the interns here, and we're going to get started. Today we have Wendy. She's a med student. She's going to answer a bunch of questions and talk about what it's like being a medical student. So Wendy, take it away. If you have a question for her, when you get to the question, remember to raise your hands and keep the chat to questions relevant only. Thanks.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Wendy. I just finished my third year at Vanderbilt. So I'm an international student on my F1 visa. I'm kind of thinking about making this more like ask me any questions and I'll answer those questions for you. A little bit background about me. So I came to the US after finishing high school. I did my first year at UCLA and then transferred to Johns Hopkins, and then did my second year at Johns Hopkins, and then did 1 year study abroad at Oxford, come back to Hopkins and finish my degree, and then worked in Hopkins for a year. So like during the year when I was working, I was admitted to medical school, and then kind of started my medical school during COVID. So that's my experience. I can talk about, what is it like to being pre-med as an international student. I can talk about my application process. I can talk about interviews. I can talk about medical school. It's more like up to you what you want to talk about, and I'll answer any questions.
Yeah, so if anyone has questions, feel free to actually put your questions in the chat now, and or raise your hand if you'd like to ask her a question verbally. But yes, feel free to keep the questions up and going in the chat.
So I saw a question about how did you go about picking your medical schools? So because as an international student, I didn't really have many choices. Basically when I picked my medical school, there is a website called MSAR where it has all the information about, how many people in the interview, what are the people's background when they interview them, that kind of stuff. So I went onto the website, I basically filtered based on like if they give more than 10 interviews for international student, or if they have admitted one international student in the past cycle. My reason behind this is because, like some of the schools will say they do take international student, but they maybe like interview like 2 people. In that case, I'm not exactly sure like, what those 2 people's backgrounds are about. So I usually just pick like, if they give a reasonable amount of interviews and reasonable amount of people who actually went there. That's how I pick my medical school. And if you filter that out, there's probably like maybe 30 schools in total. And that's a pretty reasonable number to apply. Was I 100% sure that I wanted to go to medical school? I was pretty sure I wanted to go to medical school. The reason behind this, well, I wanted to go into medicine from a pretty young age. It's more like the decision of going to medical school and coming to the US are kind of 2 separate decisions. They kind of like merge together and then become a really difficult path somehow, because being a doctor back in China is not that difficult, and study abroad is also not that difficult, but like if you combine those two options together, it becomes very difficult. But but I feel like I really wanted it. It is possible, like it's hard, but it's possible. So in terms of accepting bachelor's degree from university outside the US, I believe that it's really small number of schools. I know Vanderbilt does accept that, but that's given. So we have a program called M.D.s. I think it's kind of going out of, like, they're not having this anymore, but they do take people who have a PhD degree regardless where you did it. And I feel a few schools, I believe Hopkins, when I applied, takes bachelor's degree from the UK and Canada. And there's a few like other schools, but usually the very top ones. I think if you do have a degree outside the US, you have to go by like case by case with the school, like email them directly and figure this out. I have a few friends who did their bachelor's outside the US, and some of them ended up doing a PhD or some sort of like other degrees, and then applied. Then they like did their pre-med portion during the like post-bac program or during PhD or during master's. Yeah, so I think that's how they went about that. Like the baseline is that you have to finish your pre-med requirement. Very few, very, very, very few school will waive that for you. Also, I've seen a few people raising hands. It probably will be the easiest if you type the question in the chat box, so I can like pick which ones to answer. I usually pick the ones that are more representative for like a lot of people probably have the same question. The hardest thing or situation I had to go through while studying medicine in the US, I would say, is the communication part, because English wasn't my first language, and medicine has a lot of like very difficult like technical terms. So that was pretty hard at the beginning, but then you get used to it pretty fast. So in terms of like financial support for medical school, some of the schools will ask you to demonstrate your financial ability to cover your entire 4 years from the beginning. This was the case with Washington University in St. Louis. So that was a lot of money to ask for. Other schools don't really do that, but they want you to provide fund for the first year. For international schools, basically you either have to do like personal fund, family fund, or you can take student loans with very few banks in the US. I believe Discover has international student loans, but I didn't look into it, but I think that's something to look at. The other thing is to apply for MD, PhD, because usually that is covered. Very few schools, usually the very, very top ones, will consider you for need blind financial aid. So given your situation, they will provide aid from international schools. But because that is coming from the school, like their individual fund instead of like the federal ones, it is really hard to get those, but it is possible. So it is possible to do your bachelor's degree in major other than biology. It doesn't really matter what you do in terms of like major. The whole point is that you need to finish pre-med. Like I think that's a huge misconception from a lot of people, because they always think that, oh, we have to do a degree in like neuroscience or biology or whatsoever. But actually not a lot, but like a small portion of my classmates didn't major in any sort of like STEM. This is totally possible. Like the whole point is that you have to finish your pre-med course in some way. It doesn't even have to be from the university you're going to. You can even do it in community colleges. It doesn't really matter as long as you finish them. And I personally do feel like as a pre-med, when you're in college, I feel like people put a lot of emphasis on kind of, double majoring, and maybe that's going to be like doing engineering, and that's something like more impressive on your CV. I don't believe that's the case. I don't think that was a huge factor that was considered. I think the whole point is that you should do something you like and something you're passionate about in college, instead of like tailoring that towards medical school application. Like if you feel like medical school is your passion, this is the only thing you want to do, that's fine. Like you can do biology major, or like a relatively like more like pre-med type of major. I think that's totally reasonable. But if you're interested in like applied math and you're like worried about being an applied math major will affect your ability to get into medical, so I don't think you should be worried about that. I think that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. So question about applying to medical school if I'm an international student. I think the challenges would be that, first of all, you need to find school that sponsors this student visa. That is probably like the word, like the most difficult thing here, because very few schools actually support that. So that's why you need to go to the website called MSAR and then search for everything, and then filter out a whole bunch of things and decide which schools you want to apply to. The other thing is, I think there's a misconception that people say, oh, like as an international student, your chance of getting into medical school is smaller. I think that is true, like overall, but it's not like on individual school basis, because it's more like as international student, you can only apply to very top schools, because only the very top schools sponsor the type of visa that I need as an international student. So you're missing out a whole chunk of schools that you cannot apply. Like most of the state schools are like, in terms of ranking, they're like more mid-tier ones, but they don't really sponsor student visa. So you end up applying like extremely top heavy. So when I applied to 29 schools in total, but like 20 of my schools, 15 of the schools I applied were like top 20. So that's a really top heavy list. And that is like, people will advise you not to do that, but I had to do that because that was the only option I had. So I think the reasoning behind this is that you have to be qualified enough to get into the top 20, so you have the best chance of getting into any medical school, because that's the option you have left. So I've seen a lot of cases where, as an international student, you're qualified for like maybe like a mid-tier or a state school if you have a home state, but because you, first of all, you don't have a home state, and for whatever school you're qualified to go to, you like that school does not sponsor your visa. So that's how a lot of people end up not getting admitted to medical school. So that's like kind of, that's the situation why it's really hard. So I there's a lot of questions about like, being medical school and how that feels like. I would say you're learning a lot in medical school because you're kind of starting everything from scratch. If it doesn't really matter what you major in college. I was a neuroscience major and also did double major in biology. I would say like with my background in biology and neuroscience, it maybe give me a little bit advantage in first year. So first year for us was like all preclinical courses. But that advantage disappear like really fast, maybe like 3-month thing at most. You're like, everybody's pretty much learning the same thing from ground up. So everybody came from very different backgrounds, and they have like different knowledge they have prior to medical school. But honestly, like that difference is extremely small after you finish the first year in terms of knowledge. But I think things will make your life easier is like good personal, like interpersonal communication skills, because you're gonna do that a lot. Not just between like classmates, but also like once you start rotations, you're gonna be in a very professional team. Like there's nurses you're working with, attendings, residents, interns. So it's a huge team, and being able to kind of navigate in a big team is very important. And also like communicating with patients and patients' families, that's actually a huge chunk of your responsibility as a medical student. So I feel like being able to do that, it's kind of like soft skill you can build up in college. And because I feel like, knowledge, that is very important. But once you're able to pass the MCAT, demonstrate that you have a pretty, good learning ability, you're going to do fine in medical school. It's going to be hard for everybody. Like, so it doesn't really matter like how much you pre-learn than everybody else, if that makes sense. So I think that's kind of like, experience in medical school, but also like what you can learn before that. As an undergrad, how could I level up my CV to reach medical college? That is a good question. The way I describe myself is that I'm a good but pretty standard pre-med student. So I don't have any like very amazing, like non-traditional stories. My background, like my CV, my entire application story is very standard. Like I did college, I did pre-med, I majored in like those like very popular pre-med majors. I did research, I managed to publish some stuff. I did enough volunteer, I did shadowing, but there wasn't like any, extremely amazing life story that I had. So that's why I think, I managed to do my best job for everything I was doing. Like I got good grades, I got good MCAT score, I got enough hours, I managed to do all those things very well, and people write good letters for me, but there wasn't any like really special life stories. So I think that's a way of getting into medical school. Like you do a really good job for whatever they're asking for. There is kind of like the I can try to find that picture, but basically like as AMC published, they have a picture of like what are the core values they're looking for in medical student and all the more peripheral ones. I think that's a pretty good guide, like how you should structure your pre-med career. I think the most core factors of getting to medical school will be your grades, which is your GPA and your MCAT score, and the trend of your grade. Like, are you starting from, if you're starting from a lower point, are you continue to improve over time? So I feel like that's like the most important factors of getting into medical school. And then there's other ones, like, are you doing research? Are you doing volunteering? Are you doing shadowing? Are you like involving your community? Are you demonstrating leadership? So it's like the pretty standard things. But I would say there's that, but also there's people who have done other things in life. Like they decided to be a doctor much later, and they have like different life stories. So I've had friends who have done like PhDs, who have had other careers before medical school. Their life experience is much more diverse, and they actually have much more stories to tell. So I think that's also a way of structuring your story when you do apply. But that's like you have to, because I feel like most of the people who I met in medical school are pretty standard, like pre-med, and they have done like very amazing things, but kind of always in the frame of being a medical student. But there's also like a small portion of people who have done like very different, very amazing things, like people who were dancers before medical school. So I think if you're not like the stereotypical pre-med, you have to really highlight those experiences in your life, but also convince people like, oh, I have enough reason to be in medicine. That's my advice for like, depending on what your background is. Study medicine international student not allowed. It's the same question. Like it's not a lot. It's not allowed. It's very difficult. So if you go onto the AMC website, they will tell you that in the past like 10 years, the average number of international students who ended up applying to medical school is around like 1,200 to 1,400 each year, depending on which year you're looking at. The number of people who eventually got matriculated is around 100, 150. So, across the entire US per year, there are around 100 medical students who are not US citizens or residents. So that is a really small number of people. I think that's why people think, this is a very difficult path you're trying to go down, but it is possible, but it's very difficult. It's a really small number of people who are doing this. Yeah, so in terms of like the medical education in different countries, it is very different in the US. So US and Canada are the only two places that do, medical education after college. Most of the other places in the world will matriculate student directly from high school. I feel like, there have been a lot of reasons why that's the case, but honestly, I think that's just kind of like the way how it is. That's something we kind of just have to deal with. I agree with you. I have like a lot of friends in China who are already doing medicine, like practicing medicine right now, because they started doing medicine a lot earlier. But I just went back home this summer and I talked to a few people, few friends of mine, and honestly, like the total time you spend in training is not that different. Like even if you start study medicine very early in life, like right after high school, it pretty much takes the same amount of time, like regardless, to be a doctor, because you can't start doing medicine since like first year in college, but the problem is that you're still gonna spend a lot of time learning about like college level physics, college level calculus, and doing like chemistry, organic chemistry, biochemistry. So after you finish all the basic science courses, you're maybe like year 2, year 3, year 4 already. So it doesn't really save you that much time before like actually starting your like medicine courses, if that makes sense. Like you, as a medical student in college, you still don't really start those medicine courses in year 3 or 4. At least that's the case in China. I don't know about other places in the world, but that's the case. So like, some of the medical degrees in China is like 5 years, but they only start doing like preclinical, like medical courses year 3 or year 4, and at like year 5 they will do their clinical rotation. So for me, I did 4 years of college, and then I did like 1 year of like preclinical stuff, and then I started doing rotations year 2. So by the time I finished my clinical rotations, it's around the same time when my friends finish their clinical rotations. So it's honestly not that different. I would agree. Studying medicine in the US specifically is a very long shot. It is a very long shot. Like the number of people who are doing this is extremely small. Think about medical field in other countries. I believe other countries are also very difficult. I actually researched into this. In like when I was applying, I looked at medical school in the UK because I already did a year in the UK, so I kind of know their system. I thought about medical school in Singapore, Australia, Canada. Where else did I look? I think that's pretty much all the places I looked at. I would say that it is a little bit easier to apply to like Australia compared to the US, because the system is very similar. They also have like you can enter medical school after college, and the admission process is pretty similar to US medical schools. So that is also a possible way. But UK is very difficult, and Singapore, they only have like one school, which is Duke NUS. So Duke and National University of Singapore, they have like a combined program where they take students like outside Singapore to do medicine in Singapore. But it's only one program. So, but they're like less competitive compared to US medical schools. There was also a program like for me back home in Beijing where I can go back home and do medicine there. They started that program when I was applying, so it was kind of news. I didn't end up applying. Yeah, I will send the resources that I mentioned, but most of them is on the AAMC website that you can check out. Let's see what other questions. Do I think pursuing international medical education is worth it? That is a really hard question. I would say I would probably spend a lot less money doing medicine in China, like because the tuition is a lot cheaper. But I think there comes the question of like recognition of your degree. Like if you ever want to practice, like it really depends on where you want to practice in the future. Because I don't really know. I probably will practice in the US, given that I'm already doing medical school in the US. But there's also possibilities of me moving to somewhere in the future. I don't really know. I will see like where life takes me. But having it is unfortunately true that having a US degree and US medical degree is much more recognized in the world than other degrees. So I think in terms of like that, it is probably worth it. But if your intention is to practice medicine in a very specific geographic area, you should probably just go there and do medical school there. Because, I think that saves you the most time and money. Even if you have a US medical degree, no matter where you go, you still have to take licensing exam locally. Like, for example, like I looked into licensing exam in Hong Kong, licensing exam in Singapore, and licensing exam in Australia. You still have to do all of those. And there's still like a process associated with it. It's not like you take the exam and then you're done. Like you still have to do some like internship type of work to familiarize yourself with the system there. So applying to residency in the US after you take the US medical licensing exam. So kind of being an international student, this is the problem you will face like at every single stage of your training. Like getting into medical school will be hard because you need a visa. For the same reason, getting into residency programs will be hard because you will need a visa again. So once you apply to residency, there's essentially 2 or 3 types of visa you can be on. Like those are the most common ones. One is called J1, which is scholar visa. But J1 is complicated in the way that there's some requirement of you returning to your home country after you finish residency. And the other type is called H1B, which is a work visa. So for work visa, the problem is that a lot of the institutions where they offer residency programs don't really sponsor this kind of visa. So you're going into the same kind of question, like same kind of problem as like a college student applying to medical school. Like you're picking the residency programs that will sponsor the type of visa that you need in order to be in that program. So that is kind of like something you have to figure out. I would say this process is a little bit easier compared to applying to medical school itself, because applying to medical school, that's probably the hardest roadblock. And like after you finish medical school in the US, you're considered as a American medical graduate instead of international medical graduate, and your chance of matching is a lot higher. But coming from an international medical graduate perspective, that will be extremely difficult, because not only do you need a visa, but also you kind of have to demonstrate your ability as an international medical graduate. So that is a really, really difficult path. Preparation for USMLE. So I did take it. I took it last summer. It took me, so we took it after finishing rotations, which means you get a lot of exposure during rotations and you like strengthen your knowledge throughout. So I studied for step 1 dedicated for 3 weeks, and I took it. And also there was a change, probably people know this, but like USMLE step 1 became pass fail in my year. So it doesn't really matter like how much you score. If it was a scoring exam, I would probably spend a lot more time. But if it's passing, then once you can pass, you probably should take it. Financial aid in Australia or Singapore, I don't really know about this. Yeah, I think this is a very specific question that I didn't dig into. So UK application, Australia application. I don't know much about like kind of training beyond medical school in Australia, but training in UK, I believe this is like me reading about their website like 5 years ago, but basically what happens is that after you finish medical school, because they do have a group of people who are in medical school right after high school. That is a 6-year program where they spend 3 years doing like kind of textbook study, and then 3 years doing like more clinical things. And then after they finish, so after they finish those like 6 years, they have like a M.D.s degree. Those are people who went straight from high school. And there's also people who joined medicine after college who already has a bachelor's degree. So for people who did like post-bac medicine, they spent 4 years doing medicine. And then after they graduate from the M.D.s, you go into like the 2 foundation years. So you have foundation year 1 and 2. And that I think is pretty similar to like an intern year in the US. And then you go ahead and specialize in a specific area depending on what you want to do. Like if you want to become like a general practitioner or become like a specialist in something, I think that's like how their system is structured. Australia, I have no idea. Courses and books would help me as a high school student to go into medical school. So there is an author I really liked. I hope I'm spelling his name correctly. Sorry. He has written a lot of kind of his own experience as a doctor in the US. Kind of like, yeah, somebody spelled it more correctly than I did. Okay, he has written a lot of books in medicine, and I really liked him. I really like his writing style. Has touched on a lot of like good point about medicine. I think like his book is worth reading. Some of the content he wrote was from a long time ago, but it's still very applicable to medicine nowadays. I think that's a good kind of introduction to some of the aspect that you don't really think about in medicine. How to deal with like death and how to deal with the challenges in medicine. It's more like about the humanity aspect of medicine. I would recommend reading him. And there's also a lot of information about medicine just in general on YouTube. I think there is a YouTuber called like Premier 101 or something. They published a lot of videos on like what the life is like in different specialties. I watched that a lot with my friends during my first year when I was like still deciding which specialty I'm applying to. So it kind of tells you like, oh, like how long it takes to become like an interventional cardiologist and what their life is looks like, that kind of information. I thought that was very helpful to just, as somebody who is considering about this path, who has no idea and no other resources to learn about this information. It's a very good like starting point. I would recommend going on YouTube and just like search. I think that's a pretty good resource. I would say if you have any opportunities, as a high school student, you know, I think in the US, it's very easy to shadow doctors. Like you just email them and see like if you can just go to their office and observe their work for a day or two. I don't know about like in other places in the world, but I think that's very good exposure that helps you to see like what the life of doctor really looks like. I feel like there, for example, when I came to the US for the first time and then like doing like shadowing in the hospital for the first time, I think there's like a lot of things I wasn't expecting. Like I think in China, like you're like I feel like the culture is more casual in a way. Like you don't dress up to go to work, you don't dress up to go to clinic, but that is very much the case in the US. Like you dress up being like business casual to see your patients, and it's a very like formal encounter with your patient. So that was something that I didn't realize. And you also like spend a lot of time doing documentation as a doctor. Like the time you spend on like notes and documentation is probably like half of the time doing work. So it's not like you're always doing like very cool cases or you're seeing like patients all the time. So that's something like a lot of doctors don't like, but that's also like part of their doctor's life. So I feel like having some like first hand experience will help you to understand, you know, medicine as a career in general. And I think that's very, very important, because I think having that understanding will help you to decide if this is really the correct path for you. Because in medicine, while like people, you know, there's a lot of like, you know, good side about being a doctor. You get very respected. The pay is good. You know, you feel like you're very helpful as like a, you know, contributing person to the society. But the thing is, there's also a lot of stress you're handling as a doctor. There's a lot of responsibility on you. And sometimes you find yourself not doing medicine, but also like a lot of the, you know, social challenges, dealing with the social challenges your patients are facing. So I feel like that's something I was expecting in medicine, but also like kind of shocked me when I was doing my rotations. Like you actually spend a lot of time doing those things. I feel like I also, first of all, like that is dependent on where, like the area where you're practicing, but also that's just, you know, good to understand like exactly what your work will look like. So in terms of like if you're doing high school right now, you want to study medicine in the US university, you actually cannot study medicine for college, because once you have studied medicine in college for 4 years, you already have a medical degree. And one of the very important requirement of getting to medical school in the US is that you cannot have a medical degree. Like if you have done medicine, that's equivalent to a medical, like doctor of medicine degree in the US. Though, but that's not a disadvantage, because at that point you can just straight apply to residency instead of applying for like school of medicine, if that makes sense. Like the degree you did right after high school is the same thing as doctor of medicine in the US, but US only allow people to do medicine after they finish their bachelor's degree. So once you already have a degree in medicine, you have to go through like a kind of a verification process where you basically submit your degree to this institute. I don't know much about this because I never went through this process myself, but a lot of my friends went through this process. So you basically like submit your degree to this institution. They verify your degree, say it's the same thing as a M.D. education, and you give this to your residency program when you apply. So instead of, you know, going through this process of like medical school in the US, you don't have to do any of this. You should apply to residency straight. But the problem, as I mentioned before, is that as a student, as an international medical graduate, the chance of getting into residency program is kind of small because this process will prioritize people who have done medicine in the US instead. So that's why it's very challenging. If you're doing like specialties that are less competitive, more close to primary care, like internal medicine, pediatrics, it is a little bit easier because there is a lot of residency spots that are open. But if you're doing more competitive specialties like surgery, there's a lot fewer spots in those residency programs. So the competition is a lot higher. And because they prioritize American medical graduates, it is more difficult for you. So recognized internationally, I would say like it's more like, for example, like so the two places I looked into was Hong Kong and Singapore. So basically, for example, if you want to practice medicine in Hong Kong, so Hong Kong has their own medical schools, and for the most part, their medical graduates, like their students who graduate from medical school there, were able to cover all the population they're taking care of. But because there is an increasing shortage of doctors in Hong Kong, they decided that they are accepting people who are from other places to become doctors in Hong Kong and practice there. And in their newest guideline, they listed out a whole bunch of schools they would accept, and that includes a lot of US medical school, but not like so much medical school elsewhere. That's what I mean. It's more recognized internationally. It's more like if you ever want to practice elsewhere, it is more likely to do that if you have a degree from the US medical schools compared to other medical degrees. So that's what I mean by that. And it's the same case with Singapore. Like Singapore also have like a whole website saying like, oh, these are the medical degrees I accept as you practicing in Singapore as a foreign doctor. Yeah, so that's what I mean by like more recognized internationally. Yeah, it's more about like if you want to continue practice as a doctor, if you ever to move out of your current country. But in general, that is hard because there's a lot of legal problems with that, licensing and all that. So compared to somebody who works in computer science, this is much more difficult. Let's see. Just to clarify, what do you mean by college being 7, like university being 7 years? Is that like a medicine degree, or is that just a college degree? So for the most part, if you want to do, so here's how I'm gonna answer this question. First of all, if this college degree you're doing is already in medicine, you don't have to do medical school in the US. You can apply straight to residency programs. If this university you're doing is not in medicine and this is not in the US, then it will be very difficult to apply to medical schools in the US because most of them require a bachelor's degree in the US or North America, like Canada or US. If you have already done a degree, if you have already done a bachelor's degree elsewhere in the world, trying to come to the US to do medical school specifically, and your previous bachelor's degree wasn't in medicine, you can apply to a post-bac program where you do 2 years of basic science courses to fulfill the pre-med requirement. And then after you do that, you can apply to medical school in the US. Yeah, that's basically the you can have your college degree outside the US, but the caveat is that you have to do some sort of pre-med work in order to get into medical school in the US. Can people with medical degree elsewhere work in the US? The answer is yes, you have, but you have to go through the residency program. So in that case, if you have a medical degree outside US, then you apply as an international medical graduate to residency program straight. So when you apply to residency programs, you become like a resident doctor and you spend many years in training and then become an attending. And that's how you can work in the US. It's like if you have done medicine already, you cannot do medicine again. If you have done medical school in the past, you can't do medical school again, but you can straight apply to residency programs straight. That's what I'm trying to say. So duration of residency programs, that's dependent on what exact specialty you decide to go into. Internal medicine, pediatrics, those are the shorter ones, also pathology. And those are the shorter ones. Usually you finish that in 3 years. After you finish those residency programs, you can practice as a general pediatrician, a pathologist, or like a general like internal medicine doctor. You can do like primary care, you can become a hospitalist. Primary care is like, the general practitioner where everybody has one and you go to see them for the, very basic problems you have. And they refer you out for more specialized care. Hospitalist, you mostly do, it's like when patients got admitted to the hospital, you take care of people that way. So that's like what you can do. But other residency programs are much longer. So for example, if you're going into general surgery, that will be a 5-year training program. If you're doing, other things beyond that, there's gonna be like much longer training. Like for example, becoming a neurosurgeon takes 7 years. And after you finish residency, there's more like fellowship you can apply to. And fellowship can be anywhere between 1 year to 3 years. So, it's kind of like how specialized you want to be. There will be more training after that. So those are the pathways. So like the length in training really depends on what you want to do exactly. So if you want to be a doctor in your home country, I think you should just do medicine in your home country. Because that's just the easiest way. I don't know the process of, if you have done medicine in the US, how do you go back and get your, license again? Because that would be very difficult for me if I ever return to China and try to practice medicine. I don't know exactly how the licensing process works. Because I feel like very few people have done that. Most people who are practicing medicine in China obtain their medical degree in China. There hasn't been a lot of cases where people have their degrees elsewhere and then try to return to practice medicine. So like the process is very, very different. So the difference between medical school and medical college, in the US it's the same thing. Like medical school is medical college is medical school. In the US, medical school is part of a university for the most part. But it's kind of like there's PhD programs associated with a university. There is also Doctor of Medicine degree programs that's associated with a university. It's not like a specific like institution by itself. I don't really know if there's any medical scholarship in China for internationals. Can I apply after medical informatics to a medical school? That's dependent on if you have a bachelor's degree in the US or not. It doesn't really matter if you do medical informatics whatsoever, like that doesn't really matter. The pre-requirement for medical school in the US is that you have to finish a bachelor's degree in the US first. What should I do to work in the US if I have a medicine degree from other countries either than training? So if you have a medicine degree, you can come to the US and match to residency programs. And in that case, you will be able to get training in the US and then you become a doctor. You can't really do training. You can't really practice medicine in the US without going through some sort of training in the US first. It has to be, it will have to be that you have some sort of training here. So there's a lot of questions about medical schools in China. I actually don't know that much about medical schools in China because I have left China since the age of 18 and I haven't really been back to do any sort of formal education. But I have done some sort of rotations in China. Here's my experience. So some of the schools do have programs in English. But in the hospital, you're 100% expected to speak Mandarin in order to take care of your patients. It is really hard if you don't speak Mandarin and try to stay in the system and try to like communicate with the patient. Like a lot of so I'm from like the southwest part of China, where for the most part we speak a dialect. Like speaking Mandarin is like, if you speak the dialect, that will be the easiest because most people don't even speak Mandarin there. So I would say like if you try to practice in China without speaking Mandarin, it's going to be extremely difficult. Maybe some specialties that is okay, like if you do surgery, anesthesia, or pathology. But if you're trying to do like more, like there's a lot of like patient interaction component to your practice, that'll be very, very, very difficult. But research is possible. Practice will be kind of hard. But it's still worth asking around. When I was rotating in China, like before when I was still in college, I've seen some international students from India rotating with us. So there definitely has been the case, but it's just very difficult because like your attending will run probably in Mandarin or some sort of dialect, and then if you don't understand, it will be very difficult to like understand what's going on. So basically you're just kind of following around with them, but there will be people who like speak English and try to translate for you. But eventually if you want to practice, I think you still have to be fluent in Mandarin first. The course structure, I don't really know about the course structure. Yes, you have to. So should I take any tests or exams in the US to work there? You have to take the US medical licensing exam in order to work here, because that will legally protect you. Otherwise, you're you're not practicing under any like legal guidance. Like you need the license to practice there. What materials need to study exam like MCAT? UWorld is doing a pretty good job. They started with their US MLE licensing exam. Now they're doing a lot of MCAT preparation and work as well. So I think you will be the first thing I recommend to people. There used to be a Khan Academy website where you can a lot of the videos are free and you can learn most of the things you need to know for MCAT from there. USMLE, that's a whole new world. There's a lot of books that's being published, like First Aid, Pathoma. So those are what I would recommend starting with. College advisor programs, would that really help me or not? I would say if you're talking about like advisors in your college in the US, I would, I think this is more about like getting to college. It really depends on who you're talking to. Like I think it does help if you're not familiar with the process of applying to school in the US. But I would say that like it's more for you to familiarize with the system. Like once you have been in the US for a long enough time, you should be able to do this yourself, because there's this is mostly about the imbalance of information. Can you recommend specific research programs that I can apply as a medical student? I would say there's a lot of programs in the summer. If you have no experience in research, I think that's a pretty good starting point. But once you have some research experience, I would recommend just contact the researcher directly and see if they take any students. So if they do, it will be much easier. If you're already in the US, you can just go to their lab and work for them for a little bit. If you're doing college, you can just talk to professors in your college and see what kind of research work they're doing, and if they will take you as a student to be on their projects. Linear steps to get into medical school as an international student. So you start with doing college in the US, then you take your MCAT exam, you try to polish your application, get good grades, good CV, good, research, volunteer, leadership skills, and you build up all of that and you do your application. The application opens about like 1 year before you are actually attending medical school. So if you're trying to get into medical school 2024, this is the time you're doing your application. You should start right now. And after you apply, you go on interviews. Then once you're admitted to medical school, you start medical school. That's kind of like the process. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. The hardest part of my application when applying for undergrad, I would say is that like once you go from one education system in one country to the other, there is always kind of like a switch. For example, I had to take a lot of the exams, like for example, like SAT, English test, to prove my academic ability, because my transcript from high school in China don't really mean anything to US schools because it's a very different system. So I feel like being able to demonstrate you have good academic ability regardless where you did your education prior to this is very important. And then I would say language barrier is also a thing. I wasn't very proficient in English back then when I was in high school, so I needed a lot of help doing my essays and all that. So yeah, Oh, I think we're up for time now. Well, thanks for having me today. I hope I answered a lot of the questions. Yeah, I hope this is helpful and nice meeting you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wendy. So if everyone would be able to give her a virtual round of applause via your reaction tab on Zoom, that would be lovely and very much appreciated. Just a little way of us saying thank you, and then our participants will also be sending you some thank you messages in a little bit. So thank you once again for coming to speak to us. We really appreciate all the advice and all the questions you were able to answer. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Awesome. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and launch our attendance poll for today. I'll give it a minute or two, and then please feel free to answer the question now when it pops up on your screen, or to click on the three dots on the bottom of your Zoom screen. Sometimes they show up there too. You can see that there's a poll in progress. And then after the poll is done, we're going to be taking our group pictures. So in a minute or two, if you're able to turn your cameras on, that would be lovely. You don't have to do it just a second, but we would encourage you to do it in a minute or two. Hello, it's so nice to see all of you. And it's okay if you get the answer to the poll. It's just for attendance. Yeah, please just answer it regardless what you think is right. I'll give everyone a sec to fill it out, and then I'm gonna end the poll in a minute, and then let's get back to the picture. And I'll take a couple in case anyone votes. Okay, about 75% of you have answered the poll. Please try to wrap that up soon. We'll give it another second. Okay, we'll give everyone another minute, and then I'm going to go ahead and close it. If you missed it, please DM me on Slack now. That way we know that you at least tried to answer the poll during the time that it was offered. And also a reminder that polls aren't the only way we count your attendance. You have to have attended the session up until that point. For anyone that was thinking of potentially just joining Zoom when we do the polls. I know you didn't do that. Okay, yes, you can DM me. I'm gonna go ahead and close the poll in just a second, okay? If you missed it, please DM me on Slack. Okay, I'm giving you 3 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. All right, if you missed it, that's okay. You can message me on Slack. So if everyone would be able to turn their cameras on now, you don't have to if you're not comfortable, but if you are able to turn your cameras on, that would be lovely. We'll be taking a couple of group pictures. I can see that a lot of you have your cameras on, and this is so wonderful. It's nice to see all of your lovely faces, but I'll also send a message out in the chat if people don't know we're taking a group picture right now. And I'm gonna give everyone a minute to make, check their hair, make sure that your background's fine. Some people need a second, that's totally okay. We'll give everyone a minute before we take it, and then I'll take a couple. Don't worry. Okay, I can see people getting ready. All right, I'm gonna give it 1 minute and then I'll take a couple. I think most of you fit on my one screen, but a couple of you are on my second one, so I'll take a bunch. Okay, is everyone almost ready? Okay, I'm seeing some thumbs up. Okay, I'll give everyone a countdown too. Okay. I'm not seeing anyone say that they haven't turned their cameras on already if they want to. So I'll give everyone a countdown in just a sec. Okay, I'm gonna count down from 3 and then I'll take a bunch. Okay, so hold the smile for a couple seconds. Okay, ready? 3, 2, oh, someone said wait. So sorry, everyone. False alarm. Ron, can you message us when you're ready? I'm gonna give it like 20 seconds and then I'm gonna go ahead and. Okay, everyone's ready now. Sorry for the false alarm, folks. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm gonna take another couple for the people that don't fit on my first screen in 3, 2, 1. Okay, you're all good. If you want to go ahead and turn your cameras off now, you can. But thank you so much for turning them on for our little group picture. We'll email this out to all of you and then we'll post them on our social media too. We'll share it in Slack. So you'll all get access to this if you would like a little program memento. But yes, we always do a little group picture during our last session. So it was lovely to see all of you. You filled up 2 of my whole Zoom screens, which is a lot. Okay. So if there aren't any more questions, again, if you missed the poll, please message me on Slack. We'll head into our final workshop and then our session for today will be done after that. We'll do a little poll and then you're free to go. But we can't believe it's the very last session of our summer program today. It really feels like it's flown by. So this workshop is tailored more as a wrap up. It doesn't really have any new information about the medical field specifically. It's more so kind of your next steps after the program. So welcome to our last session. We're so happy and sad that it's our last session because we really enjoyed getting to meet all of you and interact with you throughout our sessions. So just some upcoming deadlines for you. So we've made our research symposium registration form and we'll be sharing it with you on Slack. Even if you're planning on participating individually, please fill out that form so we can get a head count on how many people are planning on submitting a project or a presentation. And if you want mentors, it's also a great way to figure out if you want group members. We'll be helping you with group members over the weekend as well. So the homework form is due next Friday, August 4th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And this is required for your certificate. So we're only calculating your eligibility for the certificate with shadowing hours if you fill out this Google form that I've now sent in the chat. It will be shared on Slack with you at the end of the program, don't worry. But please fill out the form at some point before next Friday. We're giving you a week to do it because it is a bit of a longer form and you do need to hit the word counts in order for your responses to be considered. So please take your time with the form. Please be as thorough as possible. Your responses are really important to us. So make sure you do that by next Friday. The guest speaker forms are also due next Friday. We'll also be releasing our note-taking form right after the session today. So if you want some volunteer hours, you can do that. The homework is not optional. It is definitely mandatory. Yes, all responses must be authentic. I can see that someone has their hand raised. I'm going to take questions at the end. So we're also releasing our leadership team executive internship department applications and some other ones due August 10th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So a little bit more time than you would normally have to kind of fill out your form for your guest speakers and your homework. We want to give you a couple extra days to think through those responses. Our leadership team forms for you as summer program participants are specialized because we've gotten to know you a little bit, so you don't have to fill out as much information and they're a little bit more streamlined. So I would encourage all of you to apply to joining the team here if you've enjoyed the summer program and you'd like to be a part of some initiatives that we have going on here or start your own. And then a reminder that our research symposium submission forms are due August 18th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You can also fill out our partnership request form that's open yearly. Okay, I'm going to check my chats to see if there's anything down. The form is considered the homework. Your notes can be handwritten. Certificates will be sent a couple weeks after the deadline for the homework. The homework is absolutely necessary. You do need to do it. Otherwise, you will not get your certificates. Awesome. Okay, I think those are the only questions I've gotten so far. So what's next here at M.D.s Empowered after the summer program is done? First off, a little bit late, but a happy 3rd birthday to M.D.s Empowered. So we were created in 2020 on July 7th, and it's been 3 years of us running our summer programs and now our winter camps and now our international and national programs. So happy birthday to us. And it's been a wonderful 3 years running these programs and getting to know all of you and kind of doing this year after year. So these are some of the things that we've done over the past couple of years. I'm not going to go through the whole list because it's kind of long, but we've hosted now 4 summer programs, 2 winter camps. We've awarded tons of certificates of completion. We've created departments. We hosted Gitanjali Rao in 2020, so she was the Times Kid Choice of the Year. We created our international program thanks to Ahmad, who had the idea to create a separate program cohort for people outside of the US and Canada, and it's been a wonderful success. We've also created our research symposium that we completed in 2021 and 2022. Now in 2023, we've had about 60 awards given out to groups and individual, and we've expanded to over 4,000 members. Thank you for the birthday wishes, everybody. So if you want to get involved here, we have a couple of different ways that you can do that. So we have a bunch of different departments here. We have research and content and our mentorship program that we're currently working on restructuring. So our applications for that are not out yet. We have marketing and outreach, events and fundraising, social media and graphic design, website and tech, communications, writing. There's more to come. So if you're interested in getting involved here, there are ways for you to do that. So we would love for you to come and help us out with all of these different things if you'd like to get involved here. So what can you do? Well, in our research department, you can help reach out to professors, create lessons, do research posters, webinars, and content. You can help us create lesson plans, workshops, interactives. Our mentorship program, we're shifting to more of a one-on-one mentorship approach. So mentors will be assigned to 1 or potentially 2 or 3 a few mentees globally. You can help us with outreach, planning our events, making posts for Instagram in terms of graphic design. You can help us with our website, which we're currently revamping. So there are a lot of different things that you can do here. If you want to work on something here that's not listed, you can do that too. I'll talk about that in just a second. So we have a bunch of open applications right now. If you would like to join our leadership team here, these are all of the departments that I have already mentioned. So feel free to apply to those if you'd like. I'll be sending out all the forms after today's session. So don't worry if you don't know where the forms are, it's because we haven't sent them out yet. And then we have some of these open applications as well. For sure, our department members will be open in terms of applications. Our mentorship will be open soon, partnerships and our speaker events. Executive internship is TBD. We are evaluating that on a case-by-case basis. So our mentorship program. So in 2020 and 2021, it was catered to about 200 students and a bunch of the topics that you see listed here, like computer science, anatomy and physiology, physics, calculus, pre-med, algebra 2, biology, chemistry, etc. So there's more to come, and we're doing more of a one-on-one approach. So you can apply for that during the school year, and we'll let you know when those applications are out. So if you want to get involved, you're in luck. If you are thinking of starting something and you would like our help, or if you would like to start a project here under M.D.s Powered or with us, you're able to do that. You just have to let us know what your idea is. We're always happy to start new initiatives with students here that are eager to do something new in the fields of medicine and STEM. That's how our program was created. It was something new that hadn't been done before, run by students. So we're really all ears for it. And then in terms of your program certificates, again, those are going to be emailed out to you a couple of weeks after the deadline of the form, which is next Friday. We need a couple of weeks to process certificates, and inevitably people will join Zoom with the wrong name or something. So we have to sort those things out, but they will be emailed to you personally. So we'll let you know when those are out. This is a sample certificate from 2021. It has your shadowing hours there. It certifies that you completed the program. And then it'll also be sent from our M.D.s Powered information email account. So if you need to contact us for any reason, sometimes we unfortunately spell people's names incorrectly, and we definitely want you to let us know so we can change that and send you the right one. So you can contact us if you have any questions. And so we also want to help you make the most of this opportunity, because for some of you, it might be your first experience in medicine and STEM, or the pre-med, pre-STEM, pre-healthcare kind of summer opportunity. So you can add this experience to your LinkedIn. So what is LinkedIn? I like to think of it as like a business Instagram. So it's a platform for networking. It allows you to showcase your work experience, your awards, your education. You can network with coworkers, you can find opportunities, you can follow organizations, and it creates a profile for you based on the schooling you've gotten, the clubs you've participated in, really just all of the experience that you provide LinkedIn with. So how do you add this to your personal LinkedIn? We want to help you get started. Maybe this is the first thing that you'll add into your LinkedIn, which is totally okay. So we want to help you do that. So you can click on your personal profile and scroll down to the experience section. You can hit the plus button here. We provided some screenshots, so hopefully it makes the process a little bit easier. And you can add the experience there. You can add the title, which is an International Future M.D.s in STEM 2023 participant. If the company's M.D.s Powered, you can find us on LinkedIn. You can add in the date. And then we've included a description for you here that you can use on your LinkedIn. You can pretty much copy and paste it, add in your shadowing hours, add in your specific program cohorts. The STEM-related professionals included here are catered towards our national programs. You can change those for yours, but that's an example of what you can kind of include on your LinkedIn. Feel free to upload a PDF of your program certificate or your participation award from the debate or the homework assignment or the research symposium after those come out, of course. You can add a license or a certification, so you can add your program certificate here. You can add volunteer experience if you submitted notes to us or if you did the guest speaker thank you form. And then you can add these skills in STEM, medicine, collaboration, leadership, innovation, those kinds of things. And if you click on our organization on LinkedIn, you can find a bunch of other people that have done summer programs before, and you can connect with us too. You're also welcome to connect with our leadership team. You can find us all on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure I have my LinkedIn in my Slack profile. So if you want to connect with us, you're more than welcome to. We would be happy to connect with all of you. And yes, there's an honor and award section on your LinkedIn too, so you can add all of this stuff in there. If you have received an award, not just the certificate of participation. You can also post about this on LinkedIn. So sometimes people post their certificates on their LinkedIn and they say, I did this program over the summer. It was really cool, super beneficial, learned a lot over the last couple of weeks. And then if you post and tag us, we will comment or reshare it. So these are just some ways that we're trying to hopefully help you get your networking skills a little bit up there, get your sharing skills a little bit up there on LinkedIn, and getting familiar with more of these business profiles and business platforms. So when you're applying to university or college and you're thinking about your college apps or your resume, how do you actually add this experience there? Well, you can add it as an extracurricular. You can add any awards under the awards category. You can upload your certificate to the Common or the Coalition application. And you can use this experience to talk about during an interview. You can say, well, I did a pre-med summer program or a pre-STEM summer program, and I learned all these skills, and I think I'd be a great fit for this job or this university or this club. So really use it to help you get your foot in the door. And if you need us to write you a letter of recommendation, or sometimes people ask us for letters certifying volunteer hours, please email us at info@medstempower.org. We do need at least 3 to 4 weeks to get back to you. And between the months of September and November, we're flooded with a lot of letter of recommendation requests. So the earlier you can reach out to us, the better. I'm going to pause briefly to see if people have questions. Yes, you can ask questions in the end. The deadline for the homework is August 4th. And I'll get to some more questions at the end too. And so from us to you, thank you so much for being here with us. On behalf of our core execs, so myself, Amara, and Tanuja, we're so happy that we have been continuing to run the summer program. It's been a lovely experience over the past couple of years, getting to know all of you, getting to run these programs, getting to teach, getting to coordinate. It's been really, really just like an amazing experience to do this with all of you. And we're so happy that you found out about our summer program and you applied to join us. This program would not have been possible without all of you being here. And so we really appreciate it. And we're really grateful that you are here with us. Yes, so this would not have been possible without you. Again, we're super grateful that you've chosen to spend a part of your summer here. And we really hope that you feel empowered to tackle these kind of challenging fields, but learn something new. And we really admire all of your resilience and your dedication to learning. I know that for some of our international participants, the electricity was not very reliable this summer, but all of you made a really admirable effort to still attend the program or attend our national cohort. Because of those, this program would really not exist without all of you being here. And we're so proud of you for being here with us this summer. We can't wait to see what you do. Please keep in touch with us. Sometimes I'll get messages throughout the school year from participants who say, thank you so much for this program or this service. Like I got it to the university I wanted to get into, or I got this job. And it's really awesome to hear that all of you are achieving your dreams. But yeah, we just wanted to say thank you so much for doing this program. I can't believe that it's already done, that it's already been 2 weeks and we're kind of at our end right now, not officially at the end if you're doing our research symposium, but we just wanted to say thank you so much for being here with us. It's really been a lovely experience and we hope you enjoyed it most of all. So yeah, I'll go ahead and stop sharing our screen, but that was pretty much the end of our official workshop for today. I'll send out our last poll for attendance and we'll share the homework form later, but thank you so much for joining us here this summer. It was really a pleasure to be here with all of you, and we really hope you enjoyed the program. I know I did. I hope you did. I hope you felt like you learned something or made a friend too. So we will miss all of you. I know it feels like just as the program's like getting started that it ends, But don't worry, there'll be winter camps and summer programs next year if you want to join again. I know some of you have been doing some of these programs for a couple of years now. That's really awesome. We're so glad that you're back, but we just hope you enjoyed it. Let us know how it was. You can also let us know in the homework form. And yes, the pictures will be sent on Slack. But after you answer the attendance poll or the second one, you can feel free to head out. It was lovely having you all with us this summer. Thank you so much. And we hope you have a great rest of your summer if we don't hear from you again. Seeing lots of nice messages in the chat. Thank you, everyone. We're so glad you enjoyed it. I just launched our second poll. Feel free to answer it now. So once you've answered the poll, if you want to head out, you can. Thank you so much again for joining us this summer, and we'll be in contact with you more on Slack in the upcoming days and weeks. But yes, we will miss all of you. We hope you have a great summer and have a great start to your school year if you're starting school soon. If people have questions, I'm happy to take them now. So feel free to raise your hand, or if you want to use the chat, you can do that too. I'll be checking both of them. But yes, we wanted to do a little bit of a shorter session as it's our last one. Okay, I see Abdul Rahman, your hand is up. Okay, Maitri.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for the sessions. Everything went really good, and I really learned a lot. And yeah, I'm very grateful. So I actually found a form on the website, which I think was for applying for like the positions, and I filled that out. So is that the same form which I would need to fill for like the leadership roles, or is there another one this time?
There's another one this time, but if you fill that one out, it's okay. We'll still go through that.
Okay, great. I would love to work with the team.
Awesome. Yes, that sounds wonderful. Okay, Miriam.
First, thank you for these sessions. I wanted to ask something. The first poll, I missed it because of the electricity went out. So when I came back, the poll has finished. So what should I do?
Just private message me on Slack.
A private message on Slack?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I wanted also to ask, is the homework the same as the form? Like if I fill the form, it's the same as homework, or it's a different links?
Nope, the homework form is that Google form.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Basma, did you have a question?
Yeah, hi Davina. I just want to ask if the homework optional or not.
It is not.
Okay, thank you for this great.
Yeah, no worries. Yes, if you want your certificate, the homework is not optional. If you're not interested in the certificate, you don't have to fill out the form. Omar?
Okay. First, I want to thank you so much, you and M.D.s and Ahmad, so much. I appreciate very much this program, and I have a question. When is the next session or the next program?
Yeah, so if you're interested in coming back and doing a program again, that's great to hear. We offer a winter camp every year too. So we do a summer program in the summer and then a winter camp in the winter. It'll probably be somewhere between the days of December 27th and the 29th, kind of that in-between period after Christmas, but before New Year's, and it'll be a couple of days.
Okay, will it be with the same contents?
It'll be a
or
little
something new?
different. We never really offer the same program twice in terms of content and guest speakers because we know that some of you are coming back and repeating the program and we don't want it to be the same experience for you every time. So we do try to change things from year to year. We've never offered 2 summer programs and winter camps that have been similar.
Okay. I have another question, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
But about Brain B. Okay. I was asking what is the deadline of registration or signing up, because I found someone in Egypt that can sign me up in this competition. So I was asking about the deadline, or when is the competition, or
I'm not sure when it is in Egypt, but I want to say for most of the countries I've seen, it's usually sometime between February and May. It really depends
Okay.
on the country you're in.
So it's in the next year.
Yeah, I think all the
Okay,
brain
okay.
fees for this year are done.
Yeah, I thought that it's in November or something like that.
Oh,
So I
no,
was so shocked.
no. No,
Uh,
yeah.
the last question, the last. About the Brain Facts book, should I read 2018 only? Is that enough, or I should read all the versions?
So they tell you that the 2018 version is enough, and that's like I memorized that book, but I would recommend reading the older version too, because sometimes they pull some information from there. But
Older or
yeah,
newer
so
or
like they
something?
have a 2016 or a 2012 book. If you want to skim that over, you can, but really all the information you should need is from the 2018 book.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, Marez.
Okay, hello, Javin. Thank you for your contact us and these sessions with you and your interns with this program and your work. And just I have a question about how I can join volunteer work or leadership and help the team of M.D.s. So, because I'm starting from many links. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to get involved, I'll be sending out like a bunch of links after the session is done if you would like to get involved.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, Ahmed, did you have a question? Ahmed Mustafa?
Can you hear me?
I can.
At first, I really thank you for the program, for the speakers, especially this year when they are most of them international. So helped me a lot to know how to apply to medical schools from outside of the USA. For my question, I miss note taking when you talked about the note taking, as my internet is not very stable. So can you talk about it again?
You want me to talk about the note-taking form again?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you took notes during the session or if you translated something, then you can submit it in that form. We provide, like, give you a spot to upload something. So you can do that for volunteer hours if you would like. And yeah, it's just if you're interested, it's not required.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, Miriam? I think you're unmuted, Miriam, but I can't hear you. If you want to type your question in the chat, I will keep an eye out for it. Okay, Seyfuldi? Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Okay, Amr Ahmed? Do you have a question you wanted to ask?
Hi.
Hi.
No, I don't have any question. Just I want to thank you and your team for this program and awesome sessions, and keep going, providing us more sessions and more summer programs. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Okay, so Geraldine, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
First, thank you for this amazing program. But I want to know if I did not attend any session from the sixth, but I make a summary for it and send it to you, and you accepted it. Should I make on the form that I did not attended this session, or make that I attended the session?
You can put that that's a good point. I can change the form to say other, and then you can put in the other section, message me with summary. So I'll change that now. So
There isn't other section, or you will add it now.
I'm gonna add it now to that same form.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no worries. So I will work on that right now. Okay, while I'm working on that, Abdul Rahman, do you have a question?
Oh yes, I do. I'm looking forward to prepare for step one USMLE exam next year after finishing my pre-meds. Will there be any workshops about this?
Like workshops for after you get into med school, or workshops for like just that exam?
Well, the system here is different. So I'm a med school here in Egypt, but I'm
Okay,
looking forward to take the step one, take
okay,
the exam. So I just want to know how to prepare for it. What are
okay,
the resources? How long does it take for me? Those questions. So I'm looking forward that you make some workshops on that so that we can know more about it, because I don't know any jack about it.
okay. Yeah, so we've also gotten some messages from other people in a similar situation to you that are interested in like information while you've already matriculated into med school. So we will look into doing that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Um,
Yeah, go ahead.
the homework is optional or not, because I was having an internet problem, so I didn't hear if it optional or it is needed for the certificate.
It is needed for your certificate. If you open up the form, there's a section that we've written in bold and now underlined in the description right at the top that says, please remember that this form is required for you to be eligible for your certificate of completion in conjunction with your live attendance.
Okay, the second bullet I didn't have solved it because the internet problem, but I solved the first one. Is there any problem?
You just need to message me on Slack.
What?
You just need to message me on Slack and let me know that you missed it.
Okay.
Okay. Ajar?
So thank you so much for this amazing program. We had to learn a lot of good things, and I really had this passion. You gave me the passion to follow this career of medical school, although it will be a bit hard for international students, but we can still try. So my question is the following: where can I find all the slides that we had on the workshops?
They're all provided in our Google Drive, and then this one will be there shortly.
Okay, perfect. And the second question, oh, never mind, I forgot my question. Oh, yes. The second question is that can we have a Google Doc with all the contacts of each guest speaker?
So all the contact information for all the guest speakers is in our program itinerary. So under the sessions with their name and their picture, you can find it all there.
Okay, perfect. I do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Ezra, did you have a question?
Yes, I have one. Actually, I don't know that's important or not, but I wanted to ask you that to tell you that actually I have attended all the sessions of the program, and I have attended some sessions with my name is Isra Muhammad Anwar. Then and I attended some sessions with Isra Muhammad Anwar. Is that affects the certificate or not? Because it's actually making me worried.
What name do you want to appear on the certificate?
Sarah Mohammed, actually, when I filling the form that's important for the certificate, I write the name that I wanted to appear in the certificate.
Okay, so if you're filling out the Google form with Ezra Mohammed and you've been joining all the sessions with at least Ezra Mohammed, I think it should be.
Yeah, so I have to fill the form with Ezra Mohammed.
Yeah, you need to fill out the form with the name that you want to appear on the certificate, and we put that in bold too, in case someone forgets.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Basmala? Also, a reminder, some of you have already filled out the homework form, but you haven't hit the word count, so your responses are unfortunately not going to count. We did put it in bold that you need to hit the minimum word count, and some of you have only written like 10 or 15 words for our question that asked for like 150 or 200 words. So please make sure you're hitting the word count.
Yeah, I'm here. First, do you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much for our great session and for our for your great words and working. Thank you for your nice deal with us. This is the first time I joined this course. It was very amazing and great chance. This holiday, unlike other holidays, is so informative. It's been a wonderful investment for our time. So thank you for all of things. And I have a small question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you send the homework again on Slack?
Yes, we will be sending out the homework again on Slack. Don't worry.
Thank you so much.
No worries. All right, I am not seeing too many more questions coming in. If your question didn't get answered, please resend it at the bottom of the chat now. Shidima? Did you have a question?
Yeah, the research assignment that we carried out, that last one where it was a situation about the patient had a swelling in a tumor, right? That research assignment, do we get like a certificate for it?
No, that one you don't, but for anything else like the debate or anything, you would.
Please, when will we receive it?
Usually when we're sending out our program like certificates of completion, we do that too.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Okay. Ashrakat?
Thank you for this session, and I will miss you.
We'll miss you too. Thank you for being with us. Amal or Amal? Do you have a question?
Yeah, I participate with my first name only, and you in the form told us if we participate with the name that we want in the certificate.
Yeah, so we did ask at the beginning of the program that people join with their full name on Zoom, so that might end up being an issue. I would recommend that when we send out like a spreadsheet of everyone's names and like it's color coded by whether or not you're eligible for the certificate, you can message us then.
Can you repeat slowly?
Yeah, so it might be an issue because we did ask everyone to fill out, like to join Zoom with their full name, like first and last name. So we will try to figure it out, but can't guarantee anything. Okay, Radwan?
Hi.
Hi.
I want to ask you if I didn't participate in the last debate, will it required for my certificate?
We do ask that everyone participates in the debate for attendance for that day. So it might, but you're also allowed to miss a session and still get your certificate. So depends. Okay.
Okay, I attend all the session and fill all the vote, but I didn't participate in the debate. Oh.
Okay, then I think you should be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I'm seeing a lot of questions about the same thing, like forms and homework and stuff. So you can message us on Slack and we'll send out all those links later. But I'm gonna go ahead and